Now, there has been so much going on in Nigeria's political space in the past few months that looking ahead to what the future holds for our democracy tends to have question marks. Or from the many defections to the All Progressives Congress APC, which has raised the fear of a one-party state, to talks of mergers and coalitions from opposition parties in order to challenge the ruling APC. But in the absence of strong, viable opposition parties, what would the implications be for our democracy? Well, joining us to discuss this is Braimah, publisher, editor-in-chief of the Naija Times. He would also discuss the state of our educational sector, as many schools in urban areas are still underdeveloped, and what the focus should be for governors in order to empower young graduates with grants and reduce unemployment. Good morning and welcome to the program today.
Good morning, Vimbai. Dr. Abat, good morning.
Well, fine. Let's start with the political landscape.
Yeah.
The big story, where we started this morning, it's about coalition, the factions, the coalition looking for which special purpose vehicle to use, whether ADC or SDP, or to form a new political party. The ruling party saying, look, there's no vacancy in Aso Rock in 2027. Chairman of the party saying people are joining from everywhere, Northwest, Osun State, everywhere. Delta State, most dramatically. What's your own reading of the political landscape ahead of 2027 at this moment?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Abati. Let's just say, personally, I'm not impressed. And, you know, from every circle, political circle, you expect some level of improvement. But what we are, given, served is complete disappointment. The political culture and the quality of engagement is I have to say it again, is very disappointing. Dr. Abati, we have been, this is the Fourth Republic, and we've been on this journey now since 1999. That's about 25 years or 26 years. I expected that with every political circle, there'll be some level of improvement in what we're saying, with every circle of political engagement. Now look at the defections that we have seen recently. And I'm not sure we've seen that kind of defection in our entire political history. Yes, politicians move from party to party, but it's now evident that they just want to butter their breads, go to where it's convenient, where they can have, safe corners to hide themselves, and maybe contest again, or where all their sins will be forgiven. So as far as I'm concerned, this is not good for our democracy. The current culture of defection and moving to the APC, that is a huge threat to our democracy, Dr. Abat.
Oh. Right. Now, we often speak on the level of the subnational level of governors and so forth, but another place where there are concerning developments, and we've flagged this before, is in the National Assembly, where we're inching closer and closer to a two-thirds majority in the Senate. Now, we can speak of a one-party state, that's one thing, but a two-thirds majority in the National Assembly, the parliament of any country, is a concern. Do you see any feasible way to checkmate this, or should we just prepare for a National Assembly that in the past has been accused of being rubber stamped, but now they will have all the legality behind them to just rubber stamp whatever they wake up and feel like that day? How can we avert this crisis?
What were you expecting? We're expecting more people to move into APC, even from the National Assembly, even some of the governors from their body languages. So the two-thirds majority is given in the National Assembly. So already they are called a rubber stamp National Assembly. And I think only yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, the Senate President, Senator Akpabi, was saying that they are not there to fight the executive. Yes, nobody is saying they should fight the executive. But there are checks and balances, in multi-party democracy. The role of the executive, the legislature, and the executive, they're supposed to complement each other as much as possible. But that does not mean one group should be subservient to the other. And that's the one that is also, very shocking in this current democratic dispensation. So it is like The more we look, the less we see. So expect more movement into APC. The absence of a very strong opposition, as I said, threatens our democracy. And it is not good for our political culture. We need to do more because, one, you don't have alternative views. Two, there is, you also see a situation whereby people who are supposed to do oversight, they are not available. You know, everybody is now going into APC. So, I don't know, there will be some kind of polarization, you know, within the system, because at the end of the day, the one that shocked me was what happened in Delta State. I mean, Delta State has traditionally been a strong PDP state. But if you also see what is happening in PDP, what is happening in Labour Party, you ask yourself, should we even take these politicians seriously? You know, what is their end game? We do not count, Nigerians don't count in this matter. I have said it here before. Nigerians are always reduced to the level of refugees in their own country. Whether, you know, they agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. You expect that, especially at the subnational levels, that our governors will even improve the lives of our people. They are more interested in building airports and, you know, government houses, palaces, you know, to be called government houses, and not prioritizing the welfare of our people. Because really and truly, development should be more at the subnational level. Everybody keeps putting attention at the, you know, federal government. So, who will move next to APC? That should be the next question.
There are many people, though.
We are waiting.
In fact,
because why is even
season.
Yes, transfer season. What is the price? This is just 2 years away, Rufai. 2 years to the elections, and then the whole place is being. There's nothing wrong with the president contesting again for the second term. I don't see anything wrong with that. But why do we have all these carpetbaggers hitting up the polity, make it look like it is? It has to be like this. The president has every constitutional right to contest a second time. I mean, they don't need to preach, you know, to the converted. So let them, 2 years from now, what is important is to strengthen our electoral process. We need electoral integrity, not forcing people to come and vote.
And speaking of that, there's been calls for reform in our electoral process. Do you think that this National Assembly will have the nerve to pass those reforms in our electoral process? Because those are the things we're not talking about. We're not talking about those reforms now. Those things we pointed out in the electoral laws in the last election, we've not fixed them. In fact, in recent times, our elections have gotten worse off. Look at the contention around Edo from the heights of 2023. So, where is it for us? What is the need for us, the people? We're just talking this morning that Supreme Court cannot even effect its own Supreme Court judgments. And I had to joke by saying, maybe the solution to the matter is state of emergency, because it's as if that's that one now. That's the reason you can use to call governors to order now, which is also an aberration. Vimbai was pointing to me that the aberration even continues. What about the governors of states that are appointing caretaker local government chairman, which is also an aberration? So everybody keeps breaking the law everywhere possible. It's a state of, and that's why police will shoot indiscriminately and all of that. It's a state of disorder and chaos.
Yes, you mentioned a while ago that we're experiencing a dysfunctional society. Talking about the electoral reforms, I read a statement by Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo, I think about 5 or 6 days ago, emphasizing the need again for electoral reforms in our political system. And they issued that statement because the National Assembly, they're saying if you don't come out to vote, once you are 18 and above, you will go to jail for 6 months. You'll be put in jail. I don't think going to vote is just a civic duty. Making it compulsory, you are even now also trampling on the rights of Nigerian citizens. You have the freedom of saying, I will not vote. And by the way, I will not bothered with the trend, of the number of voters, Nigerians that come out to vote. There's so much voter apathy. The election 2 years ago, presidential election, we had just 27.1%, probably the lowest in our entire history of coming out to vote at the polls. I think in 1999 it was about 34%. It went up 4 years later to about 38%. Those of registered voters, that percentage of registered voters that came out to vote. So it was only in, I think, in 2003, it went up to about 69%. But between then and now, it's been coming down to 57%, to 55%, and 2 years ago it was 27.1%. I mean, that is really, really shocking if you ask me. Why are Nigerians not coming out to vote? Because they don't have any faith in the electoral process. Mm-hmm. So talking about strengthening the process, we need to build public trust. That's the kind of reform the National Assembly should be looking at, not forcing people to come and vote.
Okay. By May 29, it will be exactly 2 years since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office. Already, the federal government is already organizing roadshow in London. Ministers are giving scorecard. And they've been giving very beautiful reports that this government has done very well in terms of stabilizing the Naira, in terms of attracting foreign direct investment. In fact, even the Pope invited the president of Nigeria to his inauguration, and so on and so forth. Now, in your opinion, as a citizen, how will you assess 2 years of the Tinubu administration? Because by 29th, that will be the major topic. In fact, by next week, that will be the major topic. What's your own assessment? The economy, energy, electricity, governance, education, the whole works. What do you think? Security, particularly.
Dr. Habati, we have to be honest with ourselves here. 2 years down the line, you expected some improvement in, quality of life of Nigerians, generally speaking. But if you pick them...
You are not seeing improvement. You are adding weight. You are looking robust.
Dr. Habati, I'm actually losing weight.
Isn't that improvement?
So if you look at each sector, I was here, I think 2 years ago, and I said it was too early in the day, to assess the administration. And that was in 2023. But take them sector by sector. You have a patriotic Nigerian, for example, like Dangote, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who has invested, heavily in this economy, in different sectors. Now take the refinery, over $20 billion investment. And look at how he has been treated shabbily, by stakeholders in that same industry. Why are we still importing petrol when Dangote refinery says they can meet all our domestic needs? I mean, that should send very strong signals that something is wrong somewhere. But I'm happy with what the president has done with the new board and the management of NNPC. I think the team there, as far as I'm concerned, are technocrats, and I want to believe that they will do, a good job turning around the situation, with NNPC, because I did an article in the past complaining about NNPC, that it was just a waste pipe. We're losing so much money. And why are we importing petrol? You spend so much money on the refineries are not working, and there are no consequences. I think probably that's the biggest problem we have in Nigeria. That usually there are no consequences for bad behavior. And the more we continue to encourage mediocrity, poor performance, and bad behavior, nothing will change. So you talked about electricity. I was outside just now waiting to come in here as I drove in. I was hearing sounds of generator. Okay? That worries me because without stable and regular electricity supply, the manufacturing sector cannot thrive. Businesses cannot thrive. And I think there's no way so there's a consequential impact on our GDP. If we have a regular electricity supply, you see that the different businesses will do well, productivity will improve. Ask the manufacturers, they will tell you what they have been going through because of poor electricity supply. Everybody is now going off the grid. How many of us can afford to go off the grid, Dr. Abati, to install solar panels? So I am disappointed again that we are still talking about electricity supply. I was again in Ghana recently, just 2 weeks ago. We stayed, the hotel we stayed, the light was steady throughout. I've mentioned this in the past. It's not to demarket our country, but you see, we need to get serious. We need to get serious with basic things like having steady electricity supply. Are we asking for too much? Now, what is the obligation of those in government, especially at the subnational level, to Nigerians. They are more interested in the local government not having, being independent, having autonomy with how they manage their funds and receive money directly. The governors will never allow that. Supreme Court ruling, yes, it's good, but is it going to happen in reality? I don't think so. So these are the issues. And now you also alluded to the point that judgments are now given, it has two different versions by politicians. So we're just going low, and lower every day, Dr. Abati. And it's like we're just in a jungle, and it's for the survival of the fittest. I will just pray. But I always make the point, too, that we should never give up on Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
When, for some of us, we had the opportunity of living abroad many years ago, we said, no, we'll stay here. When we come together, alternative voices are very important. That is why I'm also bothered about a very weak opposition. Where people can converse alternative views that can even be used by, the party in power. But that is not happening today. Everybody is just drifting to APC. So talking about performance, Dr. Abati, yesterday the dollar was still selling at 1,625 in the black market. 1,625 naira in the black market yesterday. And for some of us, it gives us a panic attack. I have to be very honest with you. Life is very tough out there. You don't need anybody, any preacher, anybody to tell you that. Life is hard.
I'd love for us to take a look at the education sector, which is one of the things that you came here to discuss. A huge spotlight, of course, has been on education over the past couple of weeks, given the situation that we saw transpiring with JAM, and some people saying that, well, this is a positive signal because at least we're seeing reform in action. Yes, mistakes happened, but there's some sort of reform and we're seeing a step in the right direction. Some people saying that, well, this is just a litmus test. It just shows and proves that we're not getting it right. Where do you think we're getting it wrong, and where do you think we're getting it right as well, where education is concerned?
My biggest concern is with the state of infrastructure in public schools in Nigeria. And I think it's a conversation we had before, Dr. Abati, when we said, we all schooled here in Nigeria, primary school, secondary school, to the university level. Schools were good. Then Ruben teased me and said, which school again? I went to Government College Willie. Everything was perfect, working very well, But I'm happy to report that there are still many schools today in urban centers where students in JS1 to SS3 sit on the floor. In today's Nigeria, I know of a particular school in a particular state. They have 100 SS3 students in one classroom. Some of them are hanging on the sill of the window, some are on the floor, some are standing. SS3 students. They have two arms, A and B, in one class, C and D in another class. 100 SS3 students standing, some are sitting. I have photographs I can show to you guys. So that worries me, that in today's Nigeria, I'm not talking about rural areas, I'm talking about cities where these things are happening. So where is our priority? If they are more interested in the next election, politicians are more interested in moving from party A to party B.
Well,
where is the vision for the growth of this country?
Some might say this administration introduced Now Fund, which has benefited many students. Is that not something positive to celebrate?
I will just express my own concern with the state of infrastructure. Now Fund is good, and I have to thank Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for doing that. But we also have stories, call them allegations if we like, that those funds were being tampered with or diverted. We can't prove that, but if it happens, I will not be surprised, because the culture of pilfering, of stealing, of embezzling funds or padding budgets. I was listening last night, about how constituency projects are ballooning. Report by budget. I think one Joshua Shiemi, he was on a rise last night, that even the current budget, they have over 11,000 projects that were inserted, amounting to about 6.9 trillion naira. When we have schools in Nigeria that you don't have basic infrastructure. A desk that will sit 3 students and the chair, it's not more than 50,000 naira or 60,000 naira. A properly made desk and chair, sit. So where are we? What is our priority? And education and healthcare, they're very important when you talk about human capital development. So, Vimbai, the state, we can improve. Why do we have a lot of private schools? Even the number of universities, to be honest, we don't have enough universities. But the question you will ask is, the mushrooming of universities right now, it is not also a very good thing. I know look at the number of students that wrote JAM. I think JAM is a different conversation. We've had a lot of conversations on that at different times. 1.9 million students wrote JAM. But how many can go into the university? And then the number of universities, they keep increasing. But most of those universities today, I'm sorry to say, they are just like glorified secondary schools. I don't know the quality. You have graduates these days who cannot even speak and write. So what is the quality of scholarship, learning in these schools, in these universities that are just all over the place? Who are the lecturers? Dr. Abati, maybe you should help us out here. Who are the, the quality of learning in these universities is very doubtful. There are too many. It's not like when we had the University of Benin, University of Lagos, University of Ibadan. And then let me add, what the university should be doing these days is to specialize in a particular area. Not ignoring other courses. Let the university be known, for example, for law. Let another university be known for engineering, for medicine, for accountancy, and so on and so forth. That if you say you want to pick a university and your first course is law, you have to be very competitive. You must score a particular grade to go into University of A, B, C. And if you want to do medicine, the University College Hospital in Ibadan was noted for, in
fact, it was the 5th best healthcare center teaching hospital in the Commonwealth in the 70s.
We had foreigners, Rufai, coming to
Saudi
UCH
Royal
Ibadan,
family.
for treatment. So what is the state of our healthcare today? The same problem. So you have private schools, you have private hospitals. They're hardly affordable these days. And then you're talking about improvement, quality of life. The medicine. Now, is it surprising now these days you just see people die, just slump and die? Cancer cases are increasing. Kidney problems are growing. Because the medicine they are supposed to buy have become too expensive. The cost has gone up by more than 4 times. Whether it's for hypertension, high blood pressure, or for blood sugar, or for some other problems that you have, medical issues. Very expensive, especially BP and blood sugar medicine. That is common. So a lot of people don't go to the hospital. They say they can't afford it. They want to embark on alternative medicine, and then we have crisis. People are just dropping dead. People will die. We don't have control over when we die, but at least let the basic things be done.
It's a sad reality of the nation we are in today. And as 2 years, comes just around the corner, you've been able to point out all of the challenges across every area. One area I wanted to talk about also is insecurity. The fact that we had decimated Boko Haram, they said before. But today we are hearing a resurgence of Boko Haram. Governor Zulum the other day was begging in Mate. I've been getting very scary reports coming out of Lilu, but kudos, to the forces out there. They've been reacting to that. And almost everywhere you go in the country, there's a breakdown of security, one way or the other. To the extent that Governor Zulum had to say that there are politicians that are informants and they're bad eggs in the military at this point in time. APC, one of the reasons why APC came into government was there was a consensus among most of political watchers then that, President Buhari, as a former military officer, would do better the level of insecurity, but nothing changed. Now it's getting worse off. As we wrap up.
Yeah, thank you, Rufai. I'm worried myself with this escalation of killings, mass killings, especially in Benue State, Plateau State, Borno State. I've been seeing footages of the governor and the stories from Borno State. It is heartbreaking. It's like, I don't know why this problem is beyond us. In spite of the best efforts of our security agencies, it's something I cannot explain or understand. You know, so it is for us, I mean, the ball is in Mr. President's court to say, hey, what do we do next? You know, how do we move forward with the security challenges? Because the fact that it's happening in Benue today, it's happening in Plateau, it's happening in Borno, does not mean the rest of us are safe.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yes.
It doesn't mean. So a security challenge or threat in one part of Nigeria is a threat to every part of the country and every part to everybody. So I think this matter needs to be looked into urgently and addressed. I don't know why we're having this problem, and it is not going away like a virus. So please, Mr. President, I want to appeal to you to please call all the defense chiefs, security agencies. I know meetings are going on, but maybe we need to just change our approach and our tactics, except there are other things we do not understand that are going on, that is making this security problem, you know, refusing to go away. You know, so, but we pray for peace and progress of our country. We'll continue to do that. And we pray that the best men and women will lead us in different positions in our country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think right about now we'll just take a break and we move on to other things.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Very insightful. Well, we do continue to keep our tabs on governance and all that will be transpiring as we count down to marking the midterm anniversary of the Tinubu administration.